Yay! And we are live. I am so excited. Hello, Jolene. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
She's like, I'm all shy over here. So, this is awesome. So, you guys, so I am doing this series where I'm actually introducing a ton of my clients because I literally get to work with the most amazing people. And I think that sometimes you may see my posts, you may see my social media, and you're like, okay, what is it that she do? Like she does photos, she does branding, what is it? And I feel like the best way for you guys to understand what I do is to see the genius of the people that I actually get to work with. So I am super excited to introduce you to Jolene. Jolene, go ahead, introduce yourself, tell the world who you are, what you do, and we're gonna go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. My name is Jolynn Hansen. I am the CEO and founder of Lofty Designs, LLC. We're a luxury interior design firm based out of Las Vegas, but we do work with people all across the country. And then I also have a professional organizing business as well that's kind of on the side of that called Tidy by Lofty. So I kind of serve both of those realms, but everything for me is all about combining beauty and function for my clients. So that's really been our focus the last, I don't know, 2.5 years.
Yes, it's amazing, amazing introduction. So, Jolene, tell me a little bit. So, let's actually walk people through a little bit of your journey, right? Because you and me met actually in person at a
Yeah.
co-working space, but then
Yeah.
from there,
It's like, who
like,
is this lady who's just talking to me randomly?
right, like, hi, how are you?
I'm like
Like,
all shy, and you're like, hello.
yes, but I think like you have grown immensely since I've known you, and I
Thank
think
God.
yes, but I think it's such a amazing story to tell people, like especially you. We're going to talk a little bit more about you personally, but like I met you, you were still finishing school, right? Like interior designing
Oh, yeah.
school. um and you hit it running, and a lot of people are in the same field that you're at. Either they're finishing their careers, or they're finishing school, or they're starting a new business and they have no idea what to do. So tell me a little bit about what that journey of starting from zero, from scratch, has actually been to you.
Yeah, for sure. So I graduated with my undergrad back in 2015, and then I was working in a few different firms. And then for the last several years, up until I started my own business, I was working for a luxury furniture and design company. And I was really kind of getting to a point where I was like, I want to be able to serve my clients with a little bit more. Like, I want to be able to be more involved in the construction, the development from conception for projects. I wanted it to be a little bit more personal. And luckily, I had the opportunity to take a contract position that allowed me to leave that corporate job and kind of go out on my own and have a little bit more flexibility. And that's really when I was able to kind of dive in and start building this brand that I had had in my mind for almost 10 years, but had never really been doing anything. Like, I'd been working corporate jobs, working like 90 hours a week. Like,
That's crazy to me. I remember when you told me that, I was like, what? Do
yeah,
they work that much? Like, what's
yeah,
happening?
yeah. No, yep, I was. And yeah, it's funny because people now, they're like, oh, you must be so busy. And I'm like, I'm always working, and yet I work less. Like, it's more work that I'm passionate about, and I also have a better work life balance. So,
Ooh, I love
anyway,
about that.
that's
So,
a
what
whole
have
nother
been
thing.
like some of the challenges that you have encountered? Because, especially, you're in the luxury market, and that is a very specific market to be in. So, what have been some of the challenges that you have encountered? Because, I mean, when we met, you were still in school, and then at some point you were okay, whatever I'm doing right now is not working out. And then we started working together. So, what were some of those challenges that you found?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing at the beginning was really mindset around, and like having the confidence of like, I do know what I'm doing. I am able to run this company like I do have experience to get me. And like, yes, there's always more experience to gain, right? And there's always more clients to learn and all of that. But I think the beginning, like the first year or so, was really a lot of confidence building. Like I was like, yeah, I'm doing this thing, but like, don't look at me yet. And I think that was something that I had to kind of work through and push myself out of that. And then I think more recently, the challenges have been like, okay, I know who I am. I know who I want to work with. I know what I offer. Now, how do I get to those people? How do I find them? How do they find me? Am I making it possible for them to find me? Am I giving the right message for them to want to work with me? So that's kind of been the shift. It was like, first you have to figure out who you are and like what you offer. And then you have to get it out to everybody.
Absolutely. So, okay. And then, so how long you been on the Be Brand Academy right now?
I'm really bad at mental math, but I started in July.
Okay. So the reason why I asked, because you came to a boot camp that I was hosting, and what was the first thing that you were like, okay, I need some clarity around my brand, and what has been your journey since then?
Yeah. So I remember on that boot camp, I have like pages and pages that I literally still reference to this day from that specific boot camp, because a lot of it at like the first few days, a lot of it was kind of going over like, what's your ideal client? Like, what do they look like? What's your ideal life look like? What do you want to be? Like, you wake up in 10 years and who are you?
Yes.
And that was, I think, something that I hadn't ever really stopped to visualize before that boot camp. And that was really the thing, like, oh, it kind of like changes how you think about it, right? And I think that was like the wake up call for me of like, okay, I have a little bit of work to do to like figure all of this out. And that's really kind of what got me hooked on joining the academy, because I was like, I know that I need not like help. I mean, yes, I need help, but it was also like, it's more so the accountability for like putting the work in. And like, I still have to get all of those answers myself. Like, you're not sitting there telling me who I am.
Oh my God, I love that.
I have
You just actually hit something on the nail, because I think I have created a post about this and I put it in there. Is the answers are inside you, right? Having guidance is key for you to have like a clear path, right? Which is ideally the people that join the boot camp, which is free, by the way. They will get a path because they're not looking at all these little details, that what they're doing is giving you clarity.
Yeah. And I think for me, I'm someone who's always been pretty good at like big picture. Like, I can look at the grand scheme of things and be like, okay, yes, in this like big universe, like these things will happen. But then when you're running a business, there's a lot of the details to get to that. And so I think that's where I would get stuck, is like, okay, yeah, I like have this grand vision, but like, how do I get there? Like, that was where I kind of got tripped up, and I would kind of get stuck in these like zones of, I have this vision and I don't know how to get to it. And so that was a really big thing for me too, is like, okay, getting the confidence, really figuring out like who you are. And I know something that you kind of really talk about in the academy is like, that's kind of the stepping stone. And then you kind of work backwards from that.
Yeah.
It's like, who am I serving? Who am I as a person?
Well, as a person, what you,
like,
how do you
where
bring
you are
that into your business, right?
Yeah.
Like who you are
Yeah.
and how you bring it into your business.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this, because as a interior designer, I think, and I've worked with several of you at this point, like people that you know, but I feel like I've gotten,
So you've got a whole network.
Yes. Oh, and part of that is really, okay, how building a personal brand has actually helped your business, directly like help your business.
Yeah. I would say the minute I started actually showing up authentically as me and like being very true to like, this is who I am, this is the experience I have, this is what I have to offer right now, I think that was the moment that I started to actually see traction, because then my message was more authentic. It was actually flowing. Like, it nothing was feeling forced anymore. And it's funny because if you go on my Instagram and like look back to a year and a half ago, you can kind of tell that I was like just forcing myself to post things. And now it's a lot more fluid because I know who I'm talking to and I know what I'm trying to say. And sometimes it's just like, here's the palette I'm working on. And sometimes it's more educational or like, why work with a designer, things like that. But I think that's been a big thing is like the minute you kind of accept like who you are and what your zone of genius is, that's when you can actually reach people. And that's really when I started to see a difference. Because I think, too, for me, and I feel like for a lot of people in business, there's a comparison struggle at the beginning. And I think for me, especially coming back into the industry when I had been working in like luxury furniture design and things like that, I think there was a part of me that kind of felt like I was playing catch up a little bit with the industry too, because I hadn't been going to networking events for several years. I hadn't been like, I was working with luxury clients, but kind of in a little bit of a different background, if that makes sense. And so I think for me, I felt like I had to prove myself a little bit.
Yeah.
Which
is imposter syndrome too, right? It's that imposter, like you're like, oh, there is all these people that have been doing design all this time, but now I come from a different place.
Yeah, and I like started like there's a lot of people in the industry who I knew of, but they had no idea who I was. And so I'd come in and they'd be like, who are you? And so I felt like there was kind of this weird shift where I was like, okay, I have to prove myself to clients and I have to prove myself to the industry and other people who are working in the luxury market and things like that. And there's kind of like the learning curve of figuring out all of those things, like who you are, who you serve, while also combating that. And so there was a lot of the mindset around
which we work so much on. By the way, we're going to have a whole mindset day inside of the bootcamp. That's a bonus session.
Don't miss it.
Don't miss it because it's so good, especially because I think that, okay, and I'm going to actually bring you to something else because you have been genius. And I know I gave you a nudge with this, but like you took this on your own. This is all of your own doing.
You gave me a nudge on several things, so which one?
Well, but the thing is, though, for you, you really took also on helping other people coming up. Do you want to talk about that? Because we talk so much about not just social media, but really positioning yourself as an authority. And you really took it to heart, which was one of the things that I applaud you for, because a lot of the people will come to the boot camp, will start creating content, but they're missing all the other pieces that we talk about. That's the beauty of actually the bootcamp, right? Lead generation, authority building, mindset, all of that. So talk to me about what you have done. So we give them a plug a little bit. And what are you doing for them?
Yeah, for sure. So a couple things I want to say quickly just to kind of touch on this. So establishing myself as an authority kind of happens in a few different ways, right? Like some of it is how I'm positioning myself on social media. Some of it is how I'm positioning myself in conversations with clients. And then really, I know what you're speaking to is positioning myself in the industry and how I'm helping other people who are doing the same thing. So part of what that looked like for me is I joined the board for IDS, which is the Interior Design Society. I joined the board as the secretary for the Las Vegas chapter here. And that's an elected position for 2 years. And part of that really, there's kind of like two parts to why I did that. One, for the community. I think there's a lot of people who are running their own businesses and we're kind of all in our silos. And the unique thing that I've really realized is we're all serving a slightly different client too.
Yes.
And one thing I love about IDS is that we're very passionate about collaboration and community over competition. It's actually like a hashtag that we use because we are very passionate about kind of working together, helping each other. Like we're all building businesses. There's room for everyone to have success, and then also providing tools for how to get there. And there's people who are further along in their careers than me and who help me and give me pointers. And then there's people who are even newer than I am, or students who are up and coming. And we're also reaching out and helping them with networking events and things like that. So that's been something that's really great for me. And I'm excited to kind of see where it goes, because I get to kind of have this group of people that I'm working with all the time. And we're all kind of working towards the same things, but in our own lanes. But then we're also growing a community.
Well, and I love, so this is, it speaks to also your own personal growth, right? Once you stop competing with others, once you stop the comparisonitis, and you're like, you know what, I can stand as myself, as a business owner, as my own brand, right? And I can actually really hold my own and help others, because we all have something to share, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to like shift the conversation a little bit, because I think that like you are in the luxury market, and the luxury market is like nothing else. Because I mean, like even me, right? Like I'm not in the luxury market. Like I have a high ticket offer, but it's not luxury, right? But what
Right.
you do is for a very specific client.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit of how, like, we have been nudging and we have been moving you towards a more aligned messaging, a more aligned showing up on social media. You're doing a whole also visual rebranding. Let's talk a little bit about what has been the challenges and what has been the beauty of it.
Yeah. I think challenges for me, again, if I'm being honest, it's kind of gone back to confidence a little bit. I think, and I hate to even say this because it's like such a like gimme sort of thing, but I'm the youngest of six kids, and I feel like I've always had like the age struggle. Like I'm always like, oh, I'm the youngest one. Like people aren't taking me seriously, and I think that's something that I would let like get in the way a lot of times, and I'd be like, well, clients aren't going to take me seriously because
Well,
I'm
because you are
so
young.
young and I
You
have
are
a
young.
baby
But
face, and like, yeah, and it's, I think a lot of that, once I started to realize like, no, they're not paying attention to your face, they're paying attention to your confidence
not only
and
that,
your
like I
message.
would think you and me talked about this, I think, before, like, oh, me as an older generation, I'm like, oh, she's young, she knows what she's talking about.
That's funny.
She's like, oh, she's into the trends. I can let her do my house. My house will probably look like it was like decorated in like, 2001. But if you do it, it's gonna look like 2023.
Yeah, I really do think that's honestly probably been one of my biggest challenges is becoming comfortable with that and being like, you know what, this is me, and I do also know what I'm doing, and I also am continuing to learn where there's areas that I don't necessarily know, like
Yeah.
I think that's something that when you get into business and you're looking around at other people who've been in business, you're like, oh well, they know what they're doing, like
Oh my God.
they're successful, so they must know, and they know a secret I don't know. And then I like got into business, and I'm like, no, they don't. We're
My
all
biggest
learning it, and we're
my
all learning
biggest
every single day,
learning
constantly.
through business, we always talk about this, is like I went into these rooms full of women that everybody seemed like they knew what they were doing. Like these
No
people
one
have no
does.
freaking clue.
Yeah, and I think there have been different networking events. I think being in the academy with women from all different backgrounds, doing all different things in different fields. I think like all different ages. I think that's been really helpful for me too to see like no, like we're all figuring it out. And it's okay if you don't know the answer, but you have to be comfortable with saying you don't know, but you know how to get the answer. And I think
Okay,
when we got to that, like that's when my confidence started to change.
I love that. So let's
Yeah.
specifically talk about the luxury market, because I think this one is something that I really want to get across, because
Yeah.
we had to work really hard to really get you to a point where you're showing up as the luxury market, like really doing things that are like quality, and I don't like quality, but also look quality. But then even in the luxury market, people need to feel like they're getting something that is special, right?
Yeah.
So what have been some of the things that we have been working on and you have been working on in your messaging to portray that across?
Yeah. So I would say at the beginning of the academy, one of the things we really kind of dive into is like, what problem are you solving? And I think the first several months, I was like, oh, I make their space pretty and I make it more functional. And that's the problem I solve. And well, yes, I do solve that problem. It goes deeper. And I think really in the last few months, I was like, oh, I know what problem I solve because I was doing it more. And really, that's like, I do everything. Like
Yeah.
these people who have busy lives and busy careers and have kids and all of that, like they don't want to sit there and micromanage their contractors and track their deliveries and make sure everything comes in and deal with anything that's broken and make sure it all flows together and make sure the colors work. And there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that I know, but a lot of other people don't know. And I think there was kind of like a light bulb moment for me where I'm like, I do all of that for them.
Yes.
So
Well,
they
and
do.
they
Like
do want a
that's
house that
luxury.
people envy, right? They want a house that people walk in and they're like, oh my God, it's so amazing without doing nothing.
Yeah. And that's really where I come in is like, you don't have to lift a finger. Like you will get the drop dead gorgeous home and you won't have to worry about it on the like along the way. Like I
Oh,
will be your liaison and I will handle all of the mess and just bring you the pretty packaging.
oh
And
my
I think
God.
once I
Yes.
figured that out, I was like, oh, that's it.
Amazing.
That's it.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
I absolute that. And I like now you're like rebranding your website.
Yeah, it's gonna look entirely different.
I
Like
can't wait. I cannot wait.
I sent
So
it to you.
awesome. So we're promoting our free personal branding bootcamp that it's happening on April. You had a light bulb moment and you end up joining the academy, but not everybody does. But what would you say to somebody that is looking to grow their brand, that maybe they are in that starting point and they're like, paralysis, like I don't know what the next step. What would you tell them about the boot camp, the free boot camp that we are hosting in April?
Yeah. So I would say for me, the boot camp really was kind of the light bulb moment to get me started on actually rethinking about how I run a business. It's not just like, oh, I filed an LLC and I have a business and I might do something with it. It's like, no, commit to the thing you're going to do, be passionate about it, show up for it, because I feel like the energy you put into things, you'll get that same energy back. So you just have to put it out there. And it can be really, really scary. And I think that's what's so great about the boot camp. And if I'm being really honest, I still join the boot camps.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the academy and I'm doing fine. And I
I
still hop
I
back into
tell my
boot camp.
clients to join the boot camp all the time because
Yeah,
it's going back to the basics,
it
to
is.
the passion, right? Because everything that we talk about on the boot camp, and I'm gonna break it down super quick, is we really go back to like who you are, what do you want to be known for, what actually is a personal brand, because people hear personal brand, personal brand. I have to build a personal brand, and I actually got in a call with somebody. It was a connection call. It wasn't a client. She was like, honestly, I'm not really entirely sure what building a personal brand does it even mean. And I was like, you know what? It's funny. Like we actually define it inside of the boot camp
Yeah.
because the different approach, and I think this is what really helped you, is we don't talk just about, oh, show up in social media so people see your face all the time.
Yeah, it's so
We
much
go
more
into
than
lead
that.
generation, messaging, how to really how are you actually going to make money with that personal brand?
Yeah.
I love
All the
it.
things.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Jolene, tell people where they can find you if they're looking to have that drop dead, gorgeous home without lifting a finger. I can't wait to be able to afford you. I'm like, but the reality is, where can they find you? Where they can see some of your work and all of the beautiful stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am most active on Instagram. You can find me at lofty designs underscore JH. That's my handle. And I'm on there every day. So that's the best place to see me, just super, super consistently. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn /Jolynn Hansen. And then, so my website domain is about to change. So
Ooh.
that's where I'm like, do I say the website? So I'll just say it right now. It's www.lofty-designs.com. In about a week and a half, it will be changing to www.loftydesigns.interiors.com.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is then when I go back and put all the links, I'll put
Like,
both. I'm gonna put until this date. You
yeah.
can find her here. And guys, I haven't seen any of the rebrand yet, so I can't freaking wait. This is so
Hopefully it's ready by
amazing.
then.
Thank you so much for your time, guys. It's such a pleasure. You're going to see a few more of these interviews with my clients inside of the academy because I truly believe that I'm working with geniuses here, women that are really going for what they want in life. That is my passion. And I really want to showcase them because I know I have a ton of women that are watching. That they're watching us, right? They're watching people like Jolene, they're watching people like me, and you're there, you have this idea for this business. Maybe you already started a business, either you're starting or you're growing a business, but you're still like not understanding how and why you need to build a personal brand. Come to the bootcamp. April 17th through the 21st. We're also going to have some bonus sessions and come join us and learn for free. And then we can have a conversation about where that can actually lead you. Okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do not leave because StreamYard let us be on the background. So you and me were going back to like the background, but I'm ending the broadcast. Bye, you guys. Thank you.